Welcome back to the Colorado Springs Business Podcast. My name is Andrew Hasley and I am the host of the show. On today's episode, I have on Angelina Pecoraro. She runs a web design company here in Colorado Springs, and we have a good chat about her journey with how she got started in that and what she's currently up to. So we're going to get into that right after a word from our sponsors. Today's episode is sponsored by Planet Duct Air Duct Cleaners. You can check them out anywhere on social media and planetduct.com. They actually have a special offer for any viewers of the show. You can get 10% off of your next service through them by mentioning this show, the Colorado Springs Business Podcast. So be sure to check them out. And on to our next sponsor. Our next sponsor is Alpha Elite Plumbing and Heat. Alpha Elite Plumbing and Heat is a plumbing and heat company here in Colorado Springs, and they offer plumbing services. You can check out Alpha Elite for yourself at alphaeliteplumbing.com. Be sure to check them out for all your plumbing and heat needs. Alright, that's all for the sponsors on this episode. We're going to get right into this interview I did with Angelina. It was a really fun one. We did it at the Perk downtown, which is not the park downtown. Don't let your autocorrect correct you. So we're going to jump right into that right now. This is a weekly show where I interview business owners and entrepreneurs from Colorado Springs, in Colorado Springs, doing things in the community of Colorado Springs. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
This is the Colorado Springs Business Podcast. I'm here with Angelina Pecoraro.
You got it.
Yes!
Yes! Hard to tell your name.
Cool. And you do, tell the people what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I specialize in web design and front-end web development.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the most exciting thing about what you do?
I love marrying visuals with code. I'm definitely a designer first and foremost, so if I didn't see those visuals, the front end of what I'm building on the website come with the code, I probably would have lost interest a long time ago. But I get to do really cool things like build video headers into websites and parallax and UX and just kind of like the marketing side of things and analytics.
User experience is UX,
yep.
right?
Yes. Yep. I tend to acronym.
What's UI mean? Because
user interface.
Interface.
So that would be the design of it, and then UX is how it works in your experience. So.
Cool. Because I knew what UX meant, but I didn't know what UI meant.
Sure, and you see them a lot together, like in job descriptions, like UI, UX designer, and user interface and user experience. And so there's a really great kind of like standard classic book called Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug, and it's just like very simple, like don't make your users think, just make it as easy as possible, like no more than 3 clicks to kind of get to your main point.
Yeah, and there's a book called Story Brand.
Yes,
I don't know if you heard of it.
Absolutely love
it's a
it.
Great
I have
book.
It all like earmarked. It's so good.
One of the quotes, a quote from that book is, "If you confuse, you lose."
There you go.
And,
so it's exactly. Whether it's in tech or if it's in business and clarifying your brand, it's so true. Yeah.
For brands, 100%.
100%.
And with design and for brands, and it's just so beautiful. And that's the way I like to do my art. Actually, is keep it simple. When it comes to at least branding. Yeah. When it comes to not branding, I'm probably really too complex.
Well, I think as a creative, like our minds go 100 miles per hour, and we kind of get into so many different projects. And I think like even though you're a videographer, there's probably other things that you like to do in the creative field as well. And same with me. So
for sure,
I feel you on that.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I've noticed it's almost like in every 7 to 10 years things I switch.
Yeah.
Like I started off like from like 8 to 17. I was painting and drawing and doing a bunch of it was really good. I actually graduated the top art kid of my class.
Very cool.
And I got awards for it and everything. Nice. But then like literally I got into music around 16 and 17. Okay. And then I put all of that aside. It bored me. Like I got bored with it, I guess. Yeah. And then so I did music production and audio design for about all the way till like 3 or 4 years ago, which is about 5 to 7 years, something like that. Okay. It's about 7 years, and then now for the last 5 years, I've been really into video stuff. Yeah. And now I've got really good at that, and I've always been a creative person, so like attention to detail is my game. Yeah, it's ridiculous how much time I just spent yesterday on this one little video segment.
Yeah, editing.
6 seconds long. This video is 6 seconds long, and it took me over this clip is 6 seconds long, and it took me over 6 hours of what I was doing, because I was motion tracking everything, and then I was like masking, like 3 layers of mask and all this crazy stuff.
What were you making?
I was doing a sky replacement, but the sky replacement at the beginning of the clip was challenging, something that I hadn't done before because it moved so fast. And then like I tried.
whip transition?
It wasn't a whip transition. It was kind of a whip transition, kind of how I went into it.
Yeah.
But it was just the way I went into the shot, and then it slows down.
Okay.
But I mean, that's kind of simple. But there were certain things that I hadn't done before, and also certain things that I was trying out.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of frustrating. For like a few hours, I was going in frame by frame, masking out, and there was like 200 frames.
That's probably what I would have done.
And it took me like a minute and a half for each frame.
Yeah.
So 200 frames by a minute and a half, like that's insane. Like I stopped like when I had about an hour left of estimated time, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a better idea. I'm gonna try the Luma key and the refined soft matte, and I tried that, and it actually worked out really well, and I did that within like 10 minutes. And I was just like,
but
I wasted all that time, but I mean, now I know not to do that again.
Yeah, that's how you learn. It's the same thing with code. I will hit my head against the wall trying to figure something out, and then I'm like, oh, it's so simple.
And that's what I was doing. I was coding, essentially. I was coding that's what a video and animation is. Animation is coding.
Yeah, I mean, anything creative, though, like we have to figure out our processes. And I love that quote by Picasso. Like, he draws a picture of a lady in 5 minutes, and he says, here, it's $20,000. And she's, what are you talking about? It was 5 minutes. And he's like, yes, but it took me 50 years to do 5 minutes of work.
Exactly. And that's kind of the thing of why we as creatives and as also entrepreneurs, we have to recognize that and not undervalue ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's so hard to do, especially like, well, we would do this for the love of it and not for the money. It's hard to be like, it costs this much, and there's so many.
It's only a 2 to 3 minute video or a 1 minute video. It's like what's in that video?
Like 14, 16 hours maybe to do that 2 to 3 minute video.
And one thing that I like to reference is a Super Bowl ad is 30 seconds and it's $5 million.
How much value does that bring you? Like, how much ROI do you get from that?
Exactly.
So you gotta look at that. Absolutely.
And that's why it's good to, like, as us as being business owners, is to be able to talk business and be able to show that value of what we actually bring and how we can do that.
And it doesn't undervalue our community either. Like, I think it's just gonna like help everybody rise up. Like, all the designers, like, we all we're better together, and I think that's very true. So yeah,
for sure. Cool. It's like that one Jack Johnson song. It's always better when we're together.
Oh yeah, I love Jack Johnson. That's very cool.
But yeah, so it's how long have you been doing the design stuff?
Yeah, good question. I actually started as a painter as well. So I went to University of Central Florida in Orlando. I was a fine art major. I started as a painter. I got into one show at FSU. I was really excited. And then I graduated in 2009, the same time the recession hit, as an art major. So that was tough, right?
Yeah, it's like a double.
I know. Who knew? Go figure. And it worked out. I actually went to teach English in Korea for a couple of years, and that was really fun. My husband was in the military, and he deployed. And so, like, when he deployed, I went to teach English. It paid well, and it was a really, really good job right out of college, like my first job out of there. Then after that, I started getting into photography, which is now a hobby, but it served me well. And now it served me well to for like my YouTube channels and that kind of thing, because photography and videography are very closely related. And once you figure out your camera, like that trifecta, like shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, that's really like what you need. So I did that. We moved to Hawaii, got stationed there, and it was just like an extremely tough market. There was really very well-established wedding photographers, and I was like, kind of like, I don't know if this is for me. It was a hard market to break into, so I got a little scared, but that actually turned into a good thing, because I went back to school for graphic design, and then I learned that trifecta of Photoshop, InDesign, and Illustrator, which was great. And I found that Illustrator was similar to like me being in the studio painting. It was probably the most similar thing that
interesting,
because you're drawing essentially, and so I loved it. I was really taken to graphic design. Then I started getting into marketing, and I worked a couple of those jobs in Hawaii. And then a client said, like, hey, can they make my website? And I was like, I better learn to code. So then it prompted me to go back to school, and then I went to
hashtag learn to code.
hashtag girls code too. I love it. But so I learned to code. I got front end web development, and just recently, I've been in business for about 2.5 years with the Men's Important Design Co. And I left my job at MWR for Carson in their marketing department, which was super fun. But
is that what brought you out here to Colorado Springs?
My husband brought us out here, but then I loved that job. It was really fun. However, I just had this like gnawing desire to do more with my life, and like just I was always thinking about my business while I was at work, and I was like, kind of checked out. So I needed to, instead of burning the midnight oil, I decided to take the leap and do this full time.
Yeah, I think that's a big leap.
It's so scary.
It's a scary leap, but
it's rewarding.
I like, there's certain things that you can do to assure your, like, a safety net, kind of, like if you fell.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that. I just jumped in straight into it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, I like your story a lot.
Yeah.
It was really brave of you.
And if I wouldn't have just jumped into it, I wouldn't have been able to generate the ideas and the connections that I did.
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing ride. But
well, that's so cool. Like, honestly, I did have a safety net, and I tell people, they're like, how did you know it was time? And I think it's a really good question. I really think that's really personal to each person.
No, for sure.
Like, but the thing is that, like, I've been a waitress, I've been a bartender, I've been, I've been retail, I've done so many different things. I've been working since, volunteering since I was 14 and working since I was 16. And I know what hard work is, and I'm not scared of it. I love it. You're definitely going to work really, really hard as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I had a safety net with my husband's income, which I feel really lucky, but that's like, it makes me work harder. It makes me like, I get this chance to be a web designer. I better work my ass off.
For sure.
I get this chance. Not everybody gets this chance.
Exactly.
So I feel like I owe it to myself and to him and, I don't know, like, to the world to, like, work as hard as I possibly can.
No, for sure.
And then I tend to burn out. So I'm getting better at that.
Yeah.
But I just you get this opportunity, and I don't want to squander it, and I want to make the most of it. And I think, like, when your heart is, like, swelling with passion, you want to do this all the time.
And you got to create those opportunities, I think. And and it's important. And I wish I would have had a safety net, but I think that if I would have waited until I had it, like you said, it's individual for each person.
Yeah.
Like, if I would have waited until I had a safety net, I would have been waiting forever.
Yeah, you never. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I just felt lucky that I had this, so I didn't want to squander it. So I kind of treated it as if I didn't have
exactly,
it.
And that's probably where I would have been. If I would have had it, I would have been like, "Oh crap, I have this now. Let's go."
Yeah, right. I never know. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was actually really scary because he actually, right in the middle of it, got out of the military. We had, like, a very steady income, and then he was looking for work, and I was like, oh my god, am I gonna have to close down my business? I'm gonna have to, like, and luckily it turned out I didn't have to do that, but like, I never take this for granted, and it's been 2.5 years, and I think about it every single day. Like,
and being a military, is he still in the military?
No, he got out. So, but yeah,
because I mean, being a military wife, you set up a foundation in a city, and then next thing you know, you have to move.
Yeah. So that was the greatest gift he could have ever gotten. A military wife was, like, not making her move her business. And I asked to stay here. I was like, and it just worked out that his career aligned with it.
Yeah.
I love the people that I met in Colorado Springs. It was the business and the design community here that maybe prompted him to be like, can we just stay here? Like, go ahead and just get out and just stay, because I love it here. So we bought a house. We are Colorado Springs residents now. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's my story.
See, I love it here too, and I had to stay. I love the community. That was a big part of it, I think.
Yeah. People are really friendly. They're I don't know. We have a really, like, both laid back but also ambitious community, and I know those are, like, oxymorons, but I'm sure you feel it too. Like, people, there's this energy
there's
here.
a synergy between that too.
And like, people, I don't think will kill themselves like maybe they will in the East Coast for work, but also, like,
you mean metaphorically kill them?
Yeah. Like, kill yourself with work, like, overworking, because like, you hear these stories, like, in New York City where people just work nonstop, and then everyone kind of vibes off each other, and then
and in Japan it's literal, like, people literally, like, the suicide rate's so high because they work so hard.
Sure. South Korea has the same problem. It really is sad. But like, I just think there's, like, people know there's this kind of confidence that things will work out here. Like, there's a little bit of laid backness that, like, hey, don't worry, you don't need to sweat your business so much because they will work out. Plus, also, there's this ambition. Like, people always show up to the networking events. You always see the same people, and they're always hustling. They're never giving up, and there's something very inspiring about that.
Yeah, I wake up every day surprised that I'm still doing it.
Yeah, right. It's a great bit to be grateful. It's just appreciate what you have.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So, what do you think has been some of the biggest challenges you had to overcome?
I feel like every day is a challenge. As much as I'm grateful, there's a lot that comes with owning business. I think one thing I didn't expect was how much business I'm going to be doing next to like the passion of what I love to do with web design. So I ended up spending a lot more time on business than I thought I would. So I generally average around 20 hours a week on client projects, and then the rest is like networking, marketing, admin. There's a lot
Biz
to
development.
it, like business. Yeah. So that was a big challenge. And then also, when work starts pouring in and you're very grateful, it's very hard to say no. So I really love this book called Essentialism, and it's all about how to balance your life and how to say no, and something I'm working on, something that really like I got overwhelmed with in the beginning, because people would say, hey, can you make this? And I was like, yes, like I'm so grateful.
No,
yeah,
for sure, yeah.
But I think you have to be careful with that.
And that's where I'm at right now, I think.
No, it's awesome. Like, congratulations. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
It feels like, yes, I'm making it.
To finally have people come to you instead you have to go to them.
No, it's amazing. It feels so good. But I think there's also like a balance, because for me anyway, I feel like if I don't achieve like a certain results for my clients, then my reputation will falter, and I don't want to make bad
for sure.
And like I will definitely like stay up all night and make sure it's done perfectly. And then your health suffers, and I've been there too. I took a sabbatical this last summer. I took 2 months off because I was just overwhelmed by it all. But yeah, I jumped back into it, and I'm excited to be here, and I'm trying to get better at work-life balance. So
yeah, for sure. What do you think has been some of the things that's been beneficial for you? Some of the tools you've used to help you with that?
Man, that's a really good question. I don't even have a good answer. I think I'm still figuring it out, honestly.
Yeah.
I think just knowing when to say no. Like really, I think figuring out that I pretty much, no matter which way I hash it, I work 20 hours a week on just client work alone. Knowing how much I can take on, like I know like this website takes this many hours, this other project takes this many hours, and then dividing it up. So actually just looking at it from like an hours perspective, and then just saying like yeah, absolutely, I could take on that project, but it'll be next week or next month. Are you okay with that?
Letting them know, and kind of scheduling it out,
and then referring out if they're like, no, I need it sooner.
For
so
sure.
Having that great collective of referral partners that I can refer to, it's been really nice. So
I know one thing, we've got very similar career paths in a sense.
Yeah, we do.
With the way that we have to run our businesses. One thing I noticed is if I'm spending too much time editing or whatever, I start stressing about I'm not spending enough time doing networking, or I'm not spending enough time business developing.
There's always a guilt. There's always a guilt.
No matter what. Yeah.
And then on top of that, I have a family guilt too. Like I would like to spend more time with my husband and stuff like that. Like he's just like constantly seeing me like work. So, and then also my health actually started suffering from it. I took on a lot of clients in October, like some big goals I finally met, and I was so excited.
I think that was the month we were supposed to meet here.
Yeah,
one day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and I'm finally getting over it. But like I had hip problems from sitting too much, and like it physically took a toll on me. And then I
stacked up two nightstands and put a board on it, and my keyboard and mouse is standing.
Oh, that's
so I'm standing
smart.
there.
Yeah, ergonomics is everything. So
Yeah.
you can't you have to take some time off and have balance as a business owner, or you're physically going to pay. Even mentally, I want to work all the time. I mean, you're going to physically pay for it at some point. So, I'm 35 now, so don't do what I did for 10 years. I had bad ergonomics. Like it will eventually catch up with you. And just one day I was just in pain, and I was out. So if you don't take care of your health now, then you might not be able to do anything. And I was actually worried I was going to have to close down the business because it was getting really bad. So, I mean, I had some great doctors. They helped me, and I'm back at it now. But yeah.
What about there's like three sides to businesses, but what about the administrative side? That's the side I slack on. I'm the creative side. I can sell, I can do all that stuff, but the administrative stuff, stuff stresses me out. I need an accountant so I can not worry about that stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, I have an accountant. She's the best accountant ever.
Yeah.
It really helps me so much. But even with that, there's things you have to do. Like I just did my taxes yesterday, and as a small business owner, taxes, oh man, I think I spent like 6 hours on it. It was just so much stuff, and I have an accountant. So, you just have to stay on top of it. Every time I have like a bookkeeping software, and I log all my transactions, and I really like being organized. I can't work unless I'm organized. Maybe that's where the graphic designer OCD part of me comes in. I can't. Like my office is very organized, and like I have a Trello board that has like all my personal productivity system, like what I'm doing that day. Like I have to be like that, or I can't even start on something.
I feel you, and I'm like Einstein in that sense.
Yeah.
Like it's chaotic organization.
Yeah, I wish I could. No, they say like people with messy rooms are more creative and that kind of thing. Like I just, for me, but it's kind of.
It seems messy to the outsider, but it's not to the person inside.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, like, but for me, like I feel like it's almost a crutch. Like I need to get all these other things done before I can get this large project, and that's bad. Sometimes you just need to jump into it. So I don't.
But I do agree with that. Like I'm on both sides of that because if my room's dirty, it's going to be harder to work.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel like you got to clean your room first.
Yeah.
And I think that's good to have. Like really, really, it is. I think it could speed up your. I'm constantly looking for YouTube videos how to organize better.
Yeah.
My workflow is very important when it comes to working with softwares like we do.
Yeah.
And like because you could realize with one or two or three clicks or buttons, you could save like an hour of time. Just like the way you're doing things.
Absolutely.
Or getting a graphics card to help me speed up certain loading times. Like me too, because when I'm doing warp stabilization or when I'm doing certain things, it takes like 30 seconds to a minute to load that. So I'm sitting there, and if I do that more than 10 times, that's like how many?
Or
like 10 minutes.
When you're exporting a video.
Yeah.
Oh!
That can
so long.
It can. But what's interesting is I've had some perspective with that. When I first started doing video, I was doing it on my crappy laptop.
Yeah.
And so it took like 2 or 3, 4 hours to export. Like a 10-minute video.
Wow.
And so when I got my good computer a few years ago, like for it to take 20 to 30 minutes to export, it's not too bad.
That good? That's where I'm losing patience.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Like,
well, I 10 to 30 minutes. I think that's pretty good.
Okay.
And what's cool about exporting is like you don't have nothing creative left to do. You can work on other things while stuff is exporting. That's so
true.
So that's the good thing. That's how I manage it. Like I just like, okay, this gives me time to work on this thing.
But then when you need to make a change and then you have to re-export, that's the hard.
That is the frustrating because you can't see the full quality like you can when you export it. So when you get the thing exported, you look at it and you're like, oh crap, that didn't render out that well. So you got to go back and tweak it again, render it out, And
struggle is real.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's also quicker ways to think, little workflow ways. Like you have your final export, you can load that back into the project, but then you have like all these pieces you got to line up and like.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you can load that back into the project, mute everything around that one spot that you had that you just want to render out. So all that other stuff is rendered already. And just that one spot, that would speed up render time.
That's a really good tip.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And getting creative like that with the softwares is just the way to go.
Well, yeah. I mean, even with one of the best things that I ever learned as a graphic designer is keyboard shortcuts. Like, copy paste.
100%.
Yeah. And same for I think anybody that works on a computer. Just keyboard shortcuts make a huge difference.
And what's cool is like softwares, they're so intuitive now.
Yeah.
You press Alt Shift K. Yeah. You opened up your shortcut menu, and you can program whatever shortcuts you want. I've been programming like so many shortcuts, like recently. Like like in order to do certain renders, you need to nest the thing first, which puts it on like a new comp, and to do that, you got to right click it, go down the nest, hit enter. I've made it where all I got to do is press F3, and boom, that's just.
Are you on a Mac or a PC?
PC.
Okay. Cool.
You're an Apple.
Yeah, I'm an Apple person. I'm Mac, I can see, recreate that commercial.
Yeah, we could.
No, I know.
Holy cow!
I know.
Oh, hold on. Is which one? I don't know, but it looks like we got the right look going on right now.
Funny. But yeah, organization is the key. But you know what? One part that's really like helped me is I think it's really good with communication with my clients. Like somebody asked me a while ago, like, how do you find your unique value proposition, which I think is so important.
Yeah.
And I said, listen to your clients. Like my clients are telling me, like, you get back to me really fast, or like you're good with communication. And I try. I mean, obviously, everybody has room to improve. Like I definitely do, but I appreciated that, and like I always try to get back to people via email within 12 hours or so. And so
I would love to have like a day or 2 day turnaround on editing, but it's just not feasible.
No, not the projects, but like, just saying like, hey, I acknowledge that you said this to me, and I am working on it. Just communication, just staying in touch with people. For sure. Yeah.
And that's why I sent you that message, because I was almost sure I was driving around, I was like, she's here, so
appreciate
I gotta send you a little message,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's really important. So like there's also a good side of organizing. So that's where that comes in. But
No, for sure. Yes. So is there anything that you would want to let the people of the listeners of this podcast Is there anything that you would want to let them know?
Sure. If you need a website, give me a call. I'm at 719-659-9300. You can also find me at www.mintonporter, MINTANDPORTER.com. So I make websites, newsletters, email newsletters, ads for websites. So pretty much anything that can use code and design, I'm your girl.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all for this episode of the Colorado Springs Business Podcast. Be sure to leave a review for us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on, or go to the Facebook page and like it so you can see a video version of it, which is probably where you're watching this right now. It's also on YouTube if you like YouTube, if that's your feng shui, if that's your way of doing things. It's pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts and video podcasts as well. So we will see you on next week's episode, and bye.